Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You heard me many times calling people baboons or infantile or I know, pieces of shit. And I didn't do that without providing evidence. And the evidence usually was in the form of their own actions and statements regarding certain issues and subjects. So when someone said something that you know he must know that's true, there's no other option just to call that person a piece of shit. Because he knows, but he says it the other way, like he doesn't know. Or if he doesn't know it, that means he's just an ignorant. And obviously we have Annalena Baerbock of Germany as the pinnacle of infantility. As we have now Kaja Kallas, since Baerbock left, Kaja Kallas is the pinnacle of infantility. We had before that Miss Liz Truss of Great Britain. All three women were infantile through their statements. So we have now a situation where the mass media lies. Well, I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, we all know they do. Yes, but it's too obvious. And I'm gonna tell you that, for instance, Putin doesn't want to meet Zelensky. This is the new thing. Putin doesn't want to meet Zelensky, but in the same time, Putin wants to meet Zelensky in Moscow. Now, which one is it? I have two articles that really work in the opposition, and they are from the Ukrainian media. If you look chronologically, this is a lie. If you don't look at them chronologically, you can say, well, maybe he changed his mind. All right, that's the first topic. And another topic, which is also related to infantile or piece of shit or ignorance or however you want to call, we have Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland. He is using half-truths to make an argument. This is how the media usually does. Ignores evidence, picks and chooses, uses half-truths, and so on. So Mr. Tusk has a selective memory. He remembers some things from the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, but he ignores others. Very convenient. Now, how would you call this person? You either call this person an ignorant, that means he doesn't know, but he's a prime minister of a big country, or he's a piece of shit because he must know, but he chooses just to have a selective memory to make his lying point. Or we're going to analyze these three topics. First one, and this is from, not that one, this one, New Voice of Ukraine. That's a Ukrainian media outlet, and this is from August 20th. This is from today. Kremlin signals Putin won't meet Zelensky. All right, well, won't meet Zelensky. But here, Ukrainska Pravda, from yesterday, Putin offered to meet Zelensky in Moscow during phone call with Trump. So maybe, indeed, Putin, won't meet Zelensky because this is on the 20th at 4:51 a.m. And this is from, obviously, the 18th when Putin and Trump spoke. Remember, the 18th, Monday, Putin was called by Trump from the Oval Office with all those vassal states and Zelensky around. All right, so let's go to the first one. Despite White House efforts to arrange a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the Kremlin has signaled Putin's reluctance, as such a meeting would imply recognizing a reality he has denied for years. And the reality is Zelensky is the legitimate president of the Ukrainian nation because he's Ukrainian. Kremlin aide, remember, this is not Vladimir Putin, this is an aide, told reporters discussing a call between US President Donald Trump and Putin that, and I'm quoting, so they're talking about the same event, the phone call. And I'm quoting, the idea was discussed that it would be appropriate to study the opportunity of raising the level of representatives of the Russian and Ukrainian sides. Very vague indeed. However, CNN noted, we have CNN. We have here someone? No. So CNN noted that no leaders were named. That's correct. So then we immediately imply he says no. According to CNN, yes. And there was no indication that, and I'm quoting, that representatives, quote unquote, would reach such a high level. Correct. So they reached the conclusion, Kremlin signals Putin won't meet Zelensky. Got it? That's how they got there. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov later took a more conciliatory tone in an interview with state-controlled Russia is open to, he said, Russia is open to, and I'm quoting, any forms of work, bilateral or trilateral. That means, yeah, we have no problem with that, but stressed that, and I'm quoting, any contacts involving top officials must be prepared with the utmost care. Correct. Where is the... CNN interpreted this, of course interpreted however they want. So if you have in your brain, or if you have at your disposal, only a hammer, that's all you got as a tool, no pliers, no screwdrivers, nothing, you're gonna see a nail everywhere to hit. And oh, this is a nail right here. Let me put it. This is a nail too, all right? Okay, so you're gonna use a nail, or this is a nail, wherever you look. So again, and CNN already has its rose-colored glasses, and they're gonna look at the world from a certain angle, which is not objective, is not media. How should I put it? Objective. Interpreted this as Kremlin's way of signaling it is far, not close, far from agreeing to such a meeting. Yes, there's certain things that needs to be talked. Utmost care. Adults talking. So they already said that this is far from agreeing. Alright, so this is first one. Second one. Putin offered to meet Zelensky in Moscow during phone call with Trump. So this is what this guy, the real guy who is the decision maker, the dictator, the guy, the tyrant, told the other guy straight there. I offered. And that is, you know where? In Moscow. How do you think Zelensky would show up in Moscow? During a telephone conversation with US President Donald Trump, Russian leader Vladimir Putin offered to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky in Moscow. These are supposed to be based on the same phone call with this guy, who is very vague, right? Yuri Ushakov, but he has no authority. This guy has the authority right here. And then you got Lavrov, who said, well, we have to look into that. And then, yeah, well, no problem with that, it seems like. So, one Agence France Press source reported that Putin mentioned Moscow during the call on Monday. So they're talking about where, not if. The source said the Ukrainian president, who was in the White House with European leaders at the time, answered, no. Okay, no problem. I mean, it's your right. I don't want to go there. I personally, if I would be Zelensky, I would go to Moscow. Because I think that would be a great success for me. I would go to Moscow, right? I would say, thank you very much. I would make sure I get the right people around me. But that's a different story. And not get poisoned and radiated and other things. But nevertheless, he said no. Okay, well, do you want to meet? So who wants peace here? Now you can say, well, it's an offer. It's true. But from my perspective, which is a baboonish perspective, obviously, I wouldn't have gone to Moscow. I would go for their triumphant entry to Moscow. That's how I would portray it. I would show up dressed like Taras Bulba or Moses. I'm sorry, Moses. It was like Moses, but if you read Taras Bulba, you find out some Moses is over there too, okay? And it's not good. So you show up as Mr. Moses over there, dressed in your, I don't know what they wear, nothing, because they were goat herders. And I will play like I'm the victor. I conquer Moscow. That's how I will portray it, 100%. And the US PR unit will promote that as a victory of Zelensky, conquers Moscow. All right. Well, maybe he's going to change his mind, or some people will change his mind. So that's the first one. And then we're going to go to Mr. Tusk. All right. Here is what Mr. Tusk said. Ukrainska Pravda. This is from Wednesday, the 20th of August. Polish Prime Minister advises against holding Zelensky-Putin talks in Budapest, where Ukraine received territorial guarantees in 1991. That's all what he remembers from all that 1994 Budapest Memorandum, where Ukraine received territorial guarantees in 1994. So I'm asking this imbecile, which I don't think is, I don't know exactly what he is, could be an imbecile piece of shit. I ask him, what else was happening in Budapest? What did the Ukrainians say? Under what kind of circumstances Ukraine was guaranteed territorial guarantees? A, if stays neutral. B, if it stays neutral. C, again, if it stays neutral. And C, you are an idiot. Which one is it? It doesn't have to be only one choice, okay? Only one good answer. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's ignoring the fact that those guarantees were signed and agreed upon only if Ukraine will remain neutral. When was Ukraine's neutrality broken? The moment Ukraine said we want in NATO. And when the political, how should I put it, freedom dynamics in Ukraine was changed by the 2014 coup d'etat organized by, may I say it, traitors in Ukraine with the help of, that's why they're called traitors, with the help of foreign agencies. Interference. So, and then they said we want NATO. That's when they changed that neutrality. Therefore, their territorial guarantees are null. Zero. That means that 1994 document is null regarding Russia signed to agree to protect your and guarantee your territory. That's when it happened. That's when it ended. So who is Mr. Tusk? Is he a piece of shit? Is he an ignorant or both? Well, I know he's not very smart. I heard him talk and he's not very smart. Unfortunately, our elected representatives, which Tusk is one of them, by his party, obviously, affiliation, are not very smart. They have certain defects that nowadays they're called qualities in certain circumstances. Because you will not tell your child to be a weasel. In school, they still teach us the same garbage. Why is garbage? Because they don't work, they don't use the same values. Tell the truth, meritocracy. They tell us all the time, work hard, be honest, don't stab people in the back. Tusk does not do anything of these things, and many of our politicians. So that means in order to get there, in charge of us supposedly, even though they're supposed to represent us, that means we hire them, so we are in charge of them, but hey, somehow they're our leaders, they're how they're portrayed. They have all these qualities that we are not supposed to teach our children, but they use them to get ahead, ahead of us. So, yeah. So Mr. Tusk picks and chooses. Remember, in 1990, when Soviet Union allowed Ukraine to become an independent sovereign country, Ukraine said, we will be neutral forever. Now, it doesn't mean that forever is forever, but they said that. In 1994, it was put as a guarantee, and everything was fine. Until even earlier, in 2008, if you remember that imbecile president, who's not nowadays in America, George W. Bush, the illiterate one, the whatever he was. But hey, he graduated, he went to Harvard and to Yale. Man, he's very smart, right? Must be. Meritocracy, remember? When he said in 2008 in Bucharest, Romania, when it was a NATO summit, Putin was over there too. He said, and I'm quoting, one day Georgia and Ukraine will be part of NATO, will be NATO member states. Say what? 994, remember? All right. So that was one big hint. The other one was, is if you agree, Soviet Union, with unification of Germany, there will be no inch eastward expansion of NATO. Zero. That was the promise. And not only verbally, it was also written later. Under the same, we're not going to arm these ones at the expense of others. And there you have him, Tusk. Regarding the other one, again, this is media. they tell you he says no, but then he said yet. He even offered Moscow. And Zelensky said no. Okay, yet I would have gone. Thank you very much. Would I have been able to take off and come back home? Yeah, I think so. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.